Chelsea's big clear-out. Are we building something special or losing our identity? Picture this. You wake up tomorrow morning and half of Chelsea's attacking players are gone. Sounds crazy, right? Well, that might not be too far from reality. The Blues are making some serious moves in the transfer market, and it looks like we're about to see one of the biggest shake-ups at Stamford Bridge in recent years. If you've been following Chelsea closely, you'll know that change has been the only constant at our club lately. But this summer feels different. This isn't just about tweaking the squad or making a few adjustments. We're talking about a complete overhaul of our attacking options. The question is, are we building something special, or are we losing what made us Chelsea? The great exodus, who's really leaving? Let's start with the elephant in the room. The rumors are flying thick and fast about who might be packing their bags and leaving West London. But what's actually happening behind the scenes at Cobham? Joao Felix, the 50 million question. The biggest news that's already confirmed is Joao Felix's move to Al Nassr. Yes, you read that right. The Portuguese forward who many thought could be our next big thing is heading to Saudi Arabia for a whopping 50 million euros. Now, before you start panicking, let's think about this rationally. Felix showed flashes of brilliance during his time with us, but was he really the consistent goal scorer we needed? His move to Al Nassr might actually free up funds for players who better fit our system. Sometimes in football, timing is everything, and maybe this wasn't Felix's time at Chelsea. But here's what's interesting, that 50 million isn't just disappearing into thin air. Word is that this money is going straight back into the transfer kitty. And if the rumors are true, we might be using it to chase some pretty exciting targets. Christopher Nkunku, the injury concern. Christopher Nkunku is another name that keeps popping up in departure rumors. This one hurts a bit more, doesn't it? We all remember how excited we were when we signed him from RB Leipzig. The French forward was supposed to bring that clinical edge we'd been missing. But let's be honest about what happened. Injuries have been Nkunku's biggest enemy since arriving at Stamford Bridge. Football can be brutal that way. One bad injury can change everything. The club might be thinking that cutting their losses now makes more sense than waiting to see if he can stay fit. The question is, are we giving up on him too soon? Or is this a smart business decision that prevents us from holding on to a player who might never reach his full potential with us? Nicolas Jackson, the surprise package. Here's where things get really interesting. Nicolas Jackson's name being on the departure list might surprise some fans. The Senegalese striker had his moments last season, and many thought he was just getting started with us. But football is a results business. If an important offer comes in for Jackson, the club seems ready to listen. This tells us something about how the management views our current attacking options. Maybe they see something we don't, or maybe they have their eyes on someone better. Jackson showed promise, but was it enough? That's the million-dollar question. In today's football world, potential doesn't always translate to success. Sometimes clubs need to make tough decisions about players who haven't quite hit the mark yet. Raheem Sterling, the veteran move. Raheem Sterling leaving wouldn't shock anyone at this point. The English winger has been linked with moves away from Chelsea for months now. Multiple clubs are reportedly interested, and it seems like both player and club are ready for a change. Sterling brings experience and pace, but has he delivered what we expected when we signed him? His time at Chelsea has been mixed at best. Some good performances, some forgettable ones. Maybe a fresh start somewhere else is what both parties need. The interesting part is that Sterling's departure would free up significant wages. In the current financial climate of football, that's not something any club takes lightly. Those savings could be crucial in funding new signings. The supporting cast, other departures. Guiu, learning the ropes. Guiu heading to Sunderland on loan makes perfect sense for everyone involved. The young Spanish forward needs regular playing time, and the Championship could be the perfect place for him to develop. Sunderland is a big club with passionate fans, so he'll get a real taste of English football culture. Loan moves like this are often win-win situations. Guiu gets valuable experience, Sunderland gets a talented young player, and Chelsea gets to see how he develops without the pressure of first-team football at Stamford Bridge. Tariq George, the German adventure. Tariq George potentially heading to Germany is another smart move for a young player's development. German clubs have a fantastic reputation for developing young talent. Just look at how many English players have benefited from spells in the Bundesliga. If George does make this move, it could be exactly what his career needs. Regular football in a competitive league, different tactical approaches, and a chance to prove himself away from the spotlight of the Premier League. Armando Broja, the permanent solution. Armando Broja's permanent move to Burnley feels like it's been coming for a while. The Albanian striker has struggled to establish himself at Chelsea, and a permanent move might be best for everyone. Burnley could be the perfect place for Broja to rebuild his career. They'll likely give him the consistent playing time he needs, and he could be a key player for them rather than a squad option for us. The master plan: what are we actually building? Now here's where things get really exciting. All these departures aren't happening in a vacuum. Chelsea clearly has a plan, and that plan seems to revolve around two names: Xavi Simons and Alejandro Garnacho. The Xavi Simons dream. Xavi Simons is the kind of player that gets Chelsea fans excited. Young, talented, versatile, and with a playing style that could fit perfectly into modern football. The Dutch midfielder has been making waves across Europe, and Chelsea wants in on the action. But here's the thing about Simons: he's not just good, he's the type of player who could define our next generation. His ability to play multiple positions, his technical skills, and his football intelligence make him exactly what Chelsea needs for the future. The money from the Felix sale could be crucial in making this happen. Sometimes in football, you need to sell to buy, and that might be exactly what's happening here. The Garnacho gamble. Alejandro Garnacho is another name that's got Chelsea fans talking. The young Manchester United winger has already shown what he can do in the Premier League, and he fits the profile of player Chelsea loves: young, hungry, and full of potential. Getting Garnacho away from Manchester United wouldn't be easy, but it wouldn't be impossible either. Player power is real in modern football, and if Garnacho wants the move, things can happen quickly. Both Simons and Garnacho represent the type of signings that could transform Chelsea's attack. They're not just talented players, they're the kind of players who could grow with the club and become genuine superstars. The financial chess game. Let's talk about the money side of things, because in modern football, everything comes down to finances eventually. Chelsea's recent spending has been massive, and financial fair play rules mean every transfer has to be carefully calculated. The departures we're seeing aren't just about football decisions. They're about creating financial space for the signings the club really wants. Felix's €50 million, combined with the wages saved from other departures, could fund some serious business. This is modern football economics in action. You can't just keep buying without selling. Even clubs with deep pockets need to balance the books eventually. What Chelsea is doing makes sense from both a football and financial perspective. What does this mean for Chelsea fans? As a Chelsea fan, how should you feel about all this change? It's natural to feel nervous when so many familiar faces might be leaving. These are players we've watched, supported, and hoped would succeed at Stamford Bridge. But change isn't always bad. Sometimes it's exactly what a team needs to move to the next level. Look at the most successful periods in Chelsea's history. They often came after significant changes to the squad. The key question is whether the new signings will be better than the players leaving. That's always a gamble in football, but it's a gamble every successful club has to take at some point. The youth development angle. One thing that's encouraging is how many young players are getting opportunities, even if it means leaving on loan initially. Guiu and George heading out on loan shows that Chelsea is thinking long-term about player development. This approach takes patience, but it can pay off massively. Just look at how many successful players have come through loan systems at top clubs. Sometimes the best thing for a young player's career is time away from the parent club. The bigger picture, building for the future. When you step back and look at everything that's happening, a clear pattern emerges. Chelsea isn't just making random transfers. They're building something specific. The focus on young, versatile, technically gifted players like Simons and Garnacho tells us about the style of football Chelsea wants to play. These aren't just good players, they're players who fit a particular system and philosophy. This kind of strategic thinking is exactly what successful clubs do. They don't just buy the best available players. They buy players who fit their vision of how football should be played. The risk and reward. Of course, there are risks involved in this approach. What if Simons and Garnacho don't adapt to Chelsea as quickly as expected? What if some of the players we're selling go on to have great careers elsewhere? These are the kinds of questions that keep football directors awake at night. But here's the thing. In football, you have to take calculated risks to achieve success. Standing still is often more dangerous than making bold moves. Looking ahead, what to expect. So what can Chelsea fans expect in the coming weeks and months? If these rumors are true, we're in for one of the most dramatic transfer windows in recent memory. The departures might happen quickly once everything is agreed. Modern football moves fast, and players can go from being linked with moves to signing contracts in a matter of days. The incoming transfers might take longer. Players like Simons and Garnacho won't come cheap or easy. These are the kinds of deals that require patience, negotiation, and sometimes a bit of luck. The integration challenge. If Chelsea does manage to sign their target players, the next challenge will be integration. How quickly can new players adapt to the Premier League? How well will they fit into the existing squad? These are questions that can only be answered on the pitch. But Chelsea's recent track record with young signings gives reason for optimism. The club has shown they know how to develop talent and integrate new players into the squad. Final thoughts: trust the process. Change is never easy for football fans. We get attached to players, we build hopes around certain individuals, and we don't like seeing familiar faces leave. But sometimes change is exactly what a club needs. Chelsea has won trophies by being brave enough to make difficult decisions. This summer might be another example of that approach. The key for fans is to trust the process while staying realistic about expectations. If Chelsea does manage to sign Simons and Garnacho while moving on players who weren't quite working out, it could be a masterstroke. But football is unpredictable. The best laid plans don't always work out. What matters is that Chelsea is being proactive, strategic, and ambitious in their approach to squad building. As we head into the new season, one thing is certain: Chelsea will look different than they did last year. The question is whether different will mean better. Based on the names being linked with moves in and out of Stamford Bridge, there's every reason to be excited about what's coming next. The summer isn't over yet, and in Chelsea's world, that means anything could happen. Buckle up, Blues fans. This could be quite a ride.